We are more than 100 days into war, and Europe is already having second thoughts over its support to Ukraine, France, and Germany, after rejecting Ukraine's demands to join NATO and EU, have now asked Ukraine to talk to Russia. And now, a frustrated and dispirited Ukraine is resorting to breaching international laws as it holds the EU to ransom. Yes, Ukraine is now targeting journalists to send a strong message to EU. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Vedika, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI Global channel yet, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. And please install our Apple and Android mobile app. The link is given below in the description. The Ukrainian president has been seeking all forms of sympathy since the onset of the conflict. France, in its all capacities, has been helping Ukraine from the very first day of the conflict. France has set aside 100 million euros to fund the most critical humanitarian needs, including medication, respirators, tents, and blankets. A humanitarian air bridge has been established through Poland to transfer these goods to Ukrainian authorities or straight to neighboring countries that are accepting migrants. In a video addressed to an international donors meeting in Warsaw last month, President Emmanuel Macron also committed to increase France's overall financial contribution to Ukraine this year to $2 billion from $1.7 billion. The humanitarian needs of the population and the economic situation of the country call for a new effort by the international community, which meets the needs linked to the destruction of civilian infrastructure, Macron said. Would you like to know how Ukraine is attempting to repay France for its assistance? By targeting its journalists. Well, when it comes to safety of journalists on the ground, when the journalists report the incidents, a resolution 2222 has been adopted by the UNSC concerning their safety. As per resolution 2222, adopted in 2015 by the UN Security Council, of which Russia is a permanent member, and international humanitarian law require that journalists are protected during armed conflicts in the same way as any civilian, even when accompanying military forces for the purposes of their reporting, and these journalists can't be targeted. But for Ukraine, this surely doesn't make any sense. To substantiate, let us quote a recent incident where two French journalists have narrated of how it is to be under Ukrainian shelling for almost 5 hours. As they narrate their whole experience, they say that how the Ukrainian army has been recklessly shelling the civilian areas as well. They said, 5 hours of heavy shelling. We couldn't imagine that we would be here for 5 hours, 4 of which were spent under heavy shelling from the unleashed Ukrainian artillery. It was clear that we were being targeted, and we knew that the car we had left outside would be in pieces by the time we got out of this hellhole. They added further, we would like you to notice that they said we were being targeted. Another noteworthy statement they gave, the Russians do not have fun shooting at areas not occupied by the enemies or military equipment. In another incident of May, a 32-year-old French journalist, Mr. Leclerc Imhoff, was killed in eastern Ukraine, for which French government has demanded investigations, but not much progress has been made in that case as of now. But considering the above-mentioned incident, killing of Mr. Imhoff certainly points towards the chance of him killed by the Ukrainian shelling. Now, two questions need to be answered. First, why Zelensky's foolish way of shelling the civilian areas is going unnoticed and unaccountable? Second, why is Zelensky targeting these French journalists despite France providing Ukraine immense help? Anyway, these kind of targeted attacks shows the desperation of Ukraine and how it is targeting civilians and journalists in utter breach of human rights. And any incidents like these must be condemned by the world.